The moon's surface was quiet, almost too quiet. Gray dust swirled with each weak gust of wind, and the jagged rocks cast long, distorted shadows under the pale light of a distant sun. Ethan Carter's boots crunched softly as he moved across the barren landscape. The human engineer had been sent to survey the remains of a recent interstellar skirmish, a sector abandoned after years of conflict. But what he found was far more unusual than a few burned-out ships. A sharp glint caught his eye near the edge of a crater. As he approached, his eyes widened. There, half buried in the moon dust, was a fighter unlike any human craft he had ever seen. Sleek, metallic, and strangely organic in design, the alien fighter had clearly seen battle. Parts of it were scorched, and jagged holes marked its surface, but its form still held an elegance that humans had never achieved. Then came a sound, a faint, labored breath. Ethan froze. The fighter's canopy, cracked but still intact, held a figure inside. A body, humanoid in shape but distinctly alien, struggled to move. Its skin was a soft shade of violet, with delicate, shimmering patterns tracing across the arms and neck. The face, partially hidden under a helmet, had wide, expressive eyes that blinked slowly, aware but wary. Ethan's heart raced. He had encountered many alien technologies before, but never a living pilot. Kneeling beside the fighter, he spoke softly, hoping to calm whatever fear lingered in the creature. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not here to hurt you. Can you understand me?" A faint murmur reached his ears, almost like a whisper carried on the wind. "Please, be gentle, human." The words were broken, strained, yet clear enough for Ethan to understand. A chill ran down his spine. The pilot was conscious, aware, and seemingly asking for trust. There was a fragility in that plea, but also a strength, a quiet courage that resonated with him. He had seen courage before, but only in humans. Seeing it in another species made it feel universal. Ethan carefully examined the fighter's condition. The armor plating had deep gouges, and several control panels were exposed, wires sparking faintly. The canopy hinge was bent, trapping the pilot inside. Every movement could worsen the damage, or worse, hurt the pilot. He knew he had to be precise, patient, and gentle. "All right," he muttered to himself. "Let's see if I can help you out." He pulled a small toolkit from his backpack, selecting instruments with care. His hands were steady, the result of years working on delicate machinery under pressure. He started by loosening the bent canopy latch. Sparks flew, and he winced, praying he didn't trigger any system that might harm the pilot. A soft hiss came from the fighter, and the alien's hands trembled slightly, reaching out as if to guide him. "You're careful," the alien murmured. "Not like the others." Ethan smiled faintly, focusing on his work. "I'm not the enemy," he said. "I just want to help." Hours seemed to pass as Ethan carefully unjammed the canopy and stabilized the exposed circuits. The alien remained still, observing him with cautious eyes. Every now and then, a faint shimmer of light ran across the alien's skin. A sign Ethan didn't understand, but it seemed connected to emotion, fear, curiosity, maybe relief. The pilot's voice, soft and musical, occasionally broke the silence. By the time he managed to lift the canopy fully, Ethan realized how exhausted the alien was. Its breaths came in shallow, steadying intervals. He reached in slowly, avoiding touching the exposed armor edges. "I need to help you out of here," he said. The alien hesitated, then nodded weakly. Ethan lifted carefully, supporting the alien's weight. Finally free from the cockpit, the pilot slumped slightly into Ethan's arms, revealing more of her form. Her armor, though severely damaged, still gleamed in patches, reflecting the pale light of the moon. Every dent, scratch, and scorch mark told a story of battle, of survival, of a life fought on foreign skies. Ethan couldn't help but marvel at it. "You're amazing," he said quietly. "You survived this, all of this." A faint smile flickered on the alien's face. "Humans survive too," she whispered, her voice faint but steady. Ethan nodded. There was an understanding forming between them, fragile but undeniable. Despite the differences in species, language, and technology, a bridge had been built. He gently lowered her onto a portable cot he had brought. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting herself rest, trusting him enough to be still. Looking at the alien, Ethan thought about the stories humans told themselves. That they were fragile, limited, and often too emotional to survive harsh universes. Yet here they were, standing on a distant moon, holding the life of an alien warrior in his hands, and showing kindness when it was most needed. He realized that human ingenuity wasn't just about tools and machines. It was about empathy, patience, and a willingness to act when others might flee. The alien stirred, blinking slowly. "You do not fear me," she said softly. "Most do." "No," Ethan said simply. "I don't. I want to understand you, your technology, your story, your fight, and maybe I can help you." Her eyes lingered on him, a strange light in them. She seemed to measure him, weighing trust against caution. Finally, she nodded, almost imperceptibly. "Perhaps we can try," she said. Ethan allowed himself a small sigh of relief. He had no idea how difficult this repair would be, nor the dangers they might face once she recovered. But for now, the first step was done. Trust had been established. As he prepared his workspace, setting up tools and analyzing the alien armor's structure, Ethan felt a sense of excitement he hadn't experienced in years. This wasn't just a repair mission, it was a chance to prove that humans could rise above fear, could connect across worlds, and could face challenges with both heart and mind. The alien warrior watched him quietly, her breathing gradually steadying. "Gentle, human," she murmured again, and Ethan couldn't help but smile. For the first time in a long while, the vast, empty moon felt alive not because of the stars, or the machines, or even the winds that stirred the dust, but because of the bond forming between two very different beings. A bond built on respect, patience, and the quiet courage that made humans human. And so, beneath the pale light of the distant sun, Ethan Carter began the delicate work that would not only repair armor, but perhaps forge a friendship that could cross galaxies. Ethan adjusted the portable lights, casting soft beams over the alien armor spread across the cot. The pieces were unlike anything he had seen before, smooth curves that seemed almost alive, intricate plating that interlocked like the scales of a mythical creature, and circuits that pulsed faintly with soft, blue energy. His hands itched to touch, to explore, but he reminded himself to be careful. Lyra, the alien warrior, lay nearby, her violet skin shimmering faintly in the light, her breathing steady but shallow. He knelt beside her, examining the cracks in her armor. "All right," he whispered. "First we stabilize what we can. Then we see if we can make it stronger than before." Lyra's eyes opened slowly, watching him work. "Do not hurt it," she murmured. The faint quiver in her voice showed her fear not of him, but of her armor, which had been a part of her life and battles for so long. Ethan nodded. "I won't," he said gently. "I just want to help you. I promise." He began by cleaning the damaged plating, removing small debris and particles from the jagged edges. The material was tough, almost impossible to scratch, yet delicate in the way it carried energy through its circuits. Ethan used a fine tool to patch a tiny breach in one of the panels. Sparks flickered once, and Lyra flinched slightly. But he held her gaze and smiled reassuringly. See? Nothing to worry about. Just a little adjustment. She relaxed, letting out a quiet breath. Human. Careful. Yes, she murmured. It was not full trust, but it was a beginning. Hours passed as Ethan worked, moving piece by piece, studying her armor, and making small repairs. He noticed patterns that seemed to adjust to her movements, almost as if the armor knew its wearer intimately. He carefully realigned the plates, reconnecting broken circuits with thin, flexible wires he fashioned from his own toolkit. Every time he completed a section, Lyra's eyes would follow him, the faint glow in her skin shifting in a way that seemed like approval. You. Clever, she said softly. Humans. Learn fast. Ethan chuckled lightly. We have to. Sometimes we don't have much time. And we need to figure things out quickly. But patience helps too. Lyra tilted her head, studying him with a curiosity that went beyond words. Patience. Unusual for humans. Maybe, Ethan admitted. But sometimes it's the only way to fix something properly. As the day progressed, he realized that the armor was more than a protective suit. It was a part of Lyra, an extension of her body and mind. Every dent and scratch was a story, a memory of battles fought and survived. Ethan felt a deep respect for her resilience. He worked carefully, repairing and strengthening the armor without altering its core design, ensuring it remained hers, not his. During a short break, Ethan prepared a small meal from his supplies. Lyra watched him quietly as he ate, fascinated by the simplicity of human food. Simple. But strong, she said, a faint smile forming on her lips. Humans. Adapt quickly. Ethan nodded. We have to. The universe is not always kind, and sometimes we're all we have. He offered her some of his rations, which she accepted tentatively. As she tasted the food, her eyes widened slightly. Nourishing. In a different way, she said, and Ethan laughed quietly. He realized then that trust was growing between them. Not just because he was helping her, but because he was showing respect for her culture, for the life she had fought to protect. Lyra was beginning to see that humans were not just fragile creatures. They were resourceful, adaptable, and compassionate in ways she had not expected. By evening, the repair had reached a point where the armor could function minimally. The circuits hummed softly, and the plates held together, though not yet fully reinforced. Ethan helped Lyra sit up carefully, adjusting her weight so she could test her own movements. She moved tentatively at first, flexing her limbs and feeling the restored armor. Better than before, she said, a note of amazement in her voice. Ethan smiled. I try. But we're not done yet. This is just the beginning. You're going to be stronger, safer, and ready to move again. Lyra's eyes softened, and she reached out, brushing her fingers against his arm, a gesture of trust. Not like others, she whispered. Others fear humans. They do, Ethan admitted. But not all humans are the same. Some of us care. The bond between them grew stronger as the night deepened. Ethan continued working, now more confident, applying his knowledge and creativity to adapt alien technology in ways he had never tried before. Lyra watched, learning from him, and occasionally offering guidance, though she was still weak from her injuries. She was impressed not only by his skill but by his patience, the way he approached each challenge without panic or arrogance. Hours later, Ethan sat back and examined the armor. It was far from complete, but the repairs had stabilized the worst damage. Lyra was able to move with minimal restriction, her systems humming with energy once more. She flexed her hands, marveling at the restored responsiveness. Human. Careful. Precise, she said, her voice filled with admiration. You understand the life it protects. Ethan felt a warm pride. He had not just repaired her armor. He had earned her respect and trust. It's not just about fixing machines, he said quietly. It's about understanding what they mean to the person who wears them. Lyra nodded, her gaze thoughtful. Perhaps humans, stronger than we believed. Ethan smiled, a sense of accomplishment warming him despite the cold moon air. They had survived the first test of trust, and the bond they had begun would only grow stronger as they continued working together. There was still much to do. The armor needed full restoration, and Lyra needed to regain her full strength, but the foundation had been laid. As he prepared to rest for the night, Ethan glanced at her. She was seated upright, observing him with quiet curiosity. The soft glow of her skin and the faint hum of the armor filled the room with a sense of life and energy. For a moment, he felt the enormity of what they were doing together. Across species, across worlds, humans had a way of making connections, building trust, and showing that courage and kindness could bridge even the deepest divides. Sleep now, Ethan said softly. Tomorrow, we continue. And I promise, you'll be ready. Lyra's eyes closed slowly, her body finally relaxing in the warmth of the shuttle. Gentle, human, thank you, she murmured. And Ethan felt the weight of those words. They were more than thanks, they were a recognition of human ingenuity, patience, and heart. Ethan sat back, looking at the alien armor before him. Each dent, each broken circuit, had been a challenge, but he had met it with skill and care, and in the process, he had learned something new about humans. That sometimes, the greatest strength was not in power or speed, but in the ability to understand, to connect, and to care. The night passed quietly, the distant stars twinkling above, witnesses to the beginning of a partnership that could cross galaxies. Ethan knew the road ahead would be long and difficult, but for the first time, he felt truly capable. Not just of repairing armor, but of showing that humans, in their determination and empathy, could rise to challenges that others might never face. And in the soft breathing of the alien warrior beside him, he realized that trust once earned was stronger than any armor he could ever repair. The next morning, the pale light of the distant sun spilled across the shuttle's interior, catching the metallic surfaces of Lyra's armor. Ethan had slept only a few hours, restless with anticipation, but he felt a renewed determination. Today, he planned to tackle the more complex repairs, the parts that would allow her armor to function at full strength again. Lyra was already awake, sitting on the cot, her violet skin shimmering softly as she flexed her fingers and tested her limbs. "Good morning," Ethan said, smiling. "How are you feeling?" Lyra tilted her head, observing him carefully. "Stronger, thanks to you," she murmured. Her voice was steadier than yesterday, though still soft. "Human? Clever." Ethan chuckled lightly. "I just follow the logic. And sometimes luck helps." He set down his toolkit and began organizing the armor pieces for the day's work. Each panel, each circuit, had to be reconnected with precision. He studied them, noting the subtle differences from human technology. Some systems seemed responsive to thought or movement, and others reacted to energy pulses. It was unlike anything he had seen before, but he trusted his skills and his patience. Lyra watched quietly. She had recovered enough to sit upright comfortably, though she still leaned slightly on the cot for support. Occasionally, she offered him guidance, pointing out areas that were more sensitive or explaining the way certain circuits reacted to her energy. Ethan listened carefully, absorbing every word. He realized that repair was not just mechanical, it was a collaboration, a meeting of human intuition and alien experience. As he worked, Ethan noticed patterns in the armor's design that seemed almost organic. Plates moved fluidly, as if they had a memory of her motions. He had to anticipate how they would respond once fully restored. One section in particular, near her shoulder, had multiple microfractures that risked spreading if handled roughly. He paused, examining it carefully. Okay, slow and steady, he murmured to himself. We don't want to make it worse. Lyra reached out, placing a hand near his arm, a gesture of trust. Gentle. Human, she whispered. Do not rush. Ethan smiled and nodded. I'm not rushing, I promise. He began repairing the section, delicately weaving small energy conduits back into place and reinforcing the fractures with a combination of alien material and human ingenuity. Sparks flickered faintly, but nothing damaged her. Lyra watched, her eyes widening slightly as the armor began to respond to the repairs. You learn quickly, she said. Not many understand this. Ethan paused, looking at her. It's not just learning, he said softly. It's understanding why it matters. Your safety, it matters. Lyra blinked, a small flicker of surprise crossing her features. Humans care? She asked, her voice almost disbelieving. We do, Ethan said firmly. Sometimes more than we realize. Hours passed, and the work continued. Ethan's hands moved with careful precision, guided by both his experience and the lessons Lyra shared. As he repaired one of the energy conduits, he marveled at the way it responded to her presence. It pulsed gently when she moved, almost like a heartbeat. He realized then that this armor was more than protection, it was a connection, an extension of her body and mind. Repairing it was not just about fixing machines. It was about respecting the life it belonged to. Lyra, in turn, seemed fascinated by his methods. She leaned forward, observing the tools and materials he used, occasionally touching a panel or wire to demonstrate its sensitivity. Human, innovative, she said, a note of admiration in her voice. You find ways. We do not. Ethan laughed softly. That's humans for you. Sometimes we don't have the perfect tools, so we make new ones. Or we figure out new ways to use old ones. Their conversation continued, gentle and curious. Language barriers were a challenge, but the combination of gestures, expressions, and shared understanding made communication possible. Slowly, a bond formed not just trust, but respect and mutual appreciation. Ethan learned about Lyra's past battles, the planets she had defended, and the allies she had lost along the way. She learned about humans, their adaptability, their desire to explore and understand, and their surprising capacity for patience. As midday approached, Ethan stepped back and surveyed his work. The armor was taking shape, its systems humming steadily, responding to Lyra's movements even in her weakened state. She stood slowly, testing the restored mobility, her eyes alight with wonder. Stronger than I expected, she said, flexing her arms. Human, careful hands. Ethan nodded, pride swelling quietly in his chest. We're not done yet, but you're getting there. Soon, you'll be able to move freely, fight if needed, and leave this moon safely. Lyra studied him, a faint smile forming. Perhaps humans, more capable than thought, she said. Not just survival, but understanding. Exactly, Ethan said. We survive, yes, but we also try to care, to understand. For a moment, silence filled the shuttle. The only sounds were the hum of restored systems, the faint movements of the armor, and their breathing. It was a comfortable silence, one that spoke of trust and connection. Ethan realized that the repair was more than mechanical. It was a shared experience, a bridge between species built on patience, respect, and quiet determination. Suddenly, a soft beep echoed from one of the panels. Ethan frowned, checking the readings. A minor energy fluctuation had appeared in a section he had repaired earlier. He moved quickly, adjusting the conduits and reinforcing the connection. Lyra watched closely, her hands hovering near the panel. Human, confident, she said, not afraid of unknown. I've learned, Ethan said simply. Sometimes you have to face the unknown carefully, but you face it anyway. That's how you fix things. Lyra nodded slowly. Humans, courageous. Not just battle, but heart. Ethan felt warmth spread through him at her words. It was rare to hear such recognition from another species, and it meant more than any technical praise ever could. He returned to his work with renewed focus, knowing that every repair he completed was a step toward not just restoring armor, but restoring trust and connection. By evening, most of the major systems had been repaired. The armor responded smoothly to her movements, the circuits humming steadily, and the plates held together without restriction. Lyra tested her strength carefully, flexing and moving as if preparing for action. Ethan watched, satisfaction growing with each successful movement. You, human, remarkable, Lyra said softly, her eyes glinting in the dim light. Able to repair what seems impossible. Ethan smiled. I just take it one step at a time. Careful hands, careful mind, and a little patience. That's all it takes. For the first time since he had found her, Lyra seemed fully relaxed. She leaned back on the cot, letting out a soft sigh. Trust grows, she said. With humans. Possible. Ethan nodded. He had learned something too, not just about alien technology, but about the strength of humans. Their patience, ingenuity, and ability to connect with others, even across species, could create bonds stronger than any armor. And in that moment, he realized that the journey they had begun together was more important than the repairs themselves. It was a story of understanding, courage, and the quiet power of empathy. As the moon's surface outside darkened under the distant sun's fading light, Ethan cleaned his tools and prepared for the night. Lyra watched him with a faint smile, the soft glow of her skin illuminating her features. Trust had been established, progress had been made, and a partnership had begun, one that would face greater challenges, but one that also promised mutual respect and discovery. And as Ethan looked at her, he knew that this was only the beginning. With careful hands, a patient heart, and unwavering determination, humans could rise to challenges that others might never face, and in doing so, earn the respect of even the most formidable alien warriors. The next morning, Ethan awoke to the faint hum of the shuttle's systems and the soft shimmer of Lyra's armor under the dim light. He stretched, feeling the soreness of long hours spent repairing the alien technology, but his determination was stronger than fatigue. Lyra had regained more strength, sitting upright with a grace that reminded him of a skilled dancer, her violet eyes observing him as he moved about the small space. Today, Ethan said softly, we finish what we started. Lyra nodded, her fingers flexing over her restored armor. Human, careful, and clever, she murmured. We proceed. Ethan returned to the armor, carefully inspecting the connections and systems he had repaired. Most were stable now, but a few circuits remained sensitive. He needed to reinforce them without disturbing their delicate balance. He worked meticulously, moving slowly, every motion deliberate, every adjustment precise. As he connected a complex series of energy conduits, the shuttle suddenly vibrated. Ethan froze, glancing around in alarm. Lyra's eyes widened as well. Outside, through the viewport, small glimmers of light moved across the barren surface of the moon. Not friendly, she said quietly. Ethan's mind raced. Hostile drones? Another patrol from the war-torn system? He knew he had to act fast, but also carefully. The armor was nearly repaired, but any sudden movement or improper handling could cause a critical failure. "Stay calm," he said. Lyra stood, testing her armor systems. The plates responded smoothly, and her energy conduits pulsed steadily. "Human, prepared?" she asked. "I have to be," he said. "Let's make sure you're ready too." Together, they moved to the shuttle's control area. Ethan quickly analyzed the incoming threats on the display. Small drones, fast and aggressive, were approaching, likely scanning for survivors or valuable technology. He realized that their situation required both strategy and quick thinking. Humans were often underestimated for their ability to improvise. But now, he would prove that adaptability could rival even the most advanced alien tactics. Ethan turned to Lyra. "I need you to trust me completely," he said. "Use your armor's response systems, but follow my lead. We can get through this together." Lyra hesitated only for a moment, then nodded. "Trust. Human. Yes." Ethan scanned the shuttle for anything he could use as a defensive advantage. He adjusted the shields and rerouted energy to the outer panels, creating a protective buffer. Lyra stood by his side, her repaired armor gleaming as she prepared to react. The first drone appeared, hovering near the shuttle, its sensors glowing with intent. Ethan quickly activated a small energy pulse from the shuttle's systems, sending a controlled shock toward the drone. It jerked violently, then recovered, circling back. Lyra observed and then extended her hand, sending a focused energy burst from her armor. The drone wavered and crashed against a rock, disabling it. "Good work," Ethan said. "But more are coming." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "We fight together." The drones multiplied, swarming in a coordinated pattern. Ethan and Lyra moved in tandem, combining human ingenuity and alien technology. Ethan used the shuttle's environment to create barriers, sending rocks and debris into the drones' paths, while Lyra's armor unleashed controlled energy pulses that disabled their sensors and motors. Each attack required precise timing and coordination, and their bond became stronger with every successful maneuver. Ethan marveled at her skill and resilience. Even weakened from her injuries, Lyra's movements were precise and controlled, her armor responding flawlessly to her intentions. "You're amazing," he said. "I've never seen anything like this." Lyra glanced at him briefly, a faint smile on her lips. "And you, human, clever, survive, despite lack of armor?" "I've had some practice," Ethan said, ducking a sudden attack from a drone. He quickly rigged a makeshift energy net, using shuttle components and his tools, ensnaring another drone. "Humans can adapt," he added, "and we never give up." The battle continued, intense and exhausting. But together, they managed to outsmart the drones. Lyra's agility and control, combined with Ethan's creativity and understanding of the shuttle's systems, allowed them to disable the attackers one by one. Each victory strengthened their trust and deepened their bond. Finally, after what felt like hours, the last drone crashed into the moon's surface, sparks flying. Ethan leaned against a console, breathing heavily, while Lyra stood nearby, her armor glowing faintly with residual energy. "We survived," she said, her voice a mixture of relief and admiration. "Yes," Ethan said, wiping sweat from his brow. "And we did it together. That's what counts." Lyra's eyes softened as she looked at him. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. The compliment meant more than any technical achievement. It was recognition of something deeper, the ability of humans to face danger with ingenuity, bravery, and heart. "We try," he said simply. As the adrenaline faded, Ethan returned to the armor. The battle had tested it, revealing areas that needed reinforcement. He carefully examined each panel, strengthening weak points and restoring energy conduits to full functionality. Lyra assisted where she could, her knowledge of her own systems invaluable. Together, They worked quietly, the trust between them evident in every coordinated motion. By the time evening arrived, the repairs were nearly complete. The armor was fully operational, responsive to Lyra's movements, and capable of defending against threats like the ones they had just faced. Lyra tested it, moving fluidly, energy flowing smoothly through the conduits, the plates shifting perfectly with her motions. "You, stronger, human," she said softly, "able to repair and survive under pressure." Ethan smiled. "And you're ready to leave this moon safely. We made a good team." Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Team. Unusual, but effective." She paused, looking at him. "Human. Understand. More than technology. Life." Ethan felt a surge of pride. It wasn't just about fixing armor. It was about building trust, showing empathy, and demonstrating human ingenuity and patience. They had faced danger together and emerged stronger, not only in skill but in understanding each other. As night fell, the stars twinkled above the moon's barren surface. Ethan cleaned his tools and prepared for the shuttle's departure. Lyra stood near him, testing the last few systems of her armor. The faint glow of her skin reflected the lights of the shuttle, creating an aura of calm and quiet strength. "You, human, remarkable," Lyra said quietly. "Not only clever, but heart-wise." Ethan smiled, feeling the weight of her words. They were more than praise. They were recognition of the bond they had formed, the courage they had shared, and the mutual respect that now existed between them. "Thank you," he said simply. "But it was not just me. We worked together. That's what matters." Lyra's eyes shone softly. "Together. Yes. Perhaps humans, stronger than we, believed." And as they prepared to leave the moon, ready to face whatever awaited them in the stars, Ethan realized that the greatest strength of humans was not just in their skill or technology, but in their courage, empathy, and ability to connect with others even across galaxies. The battle had tested them. The repairs had strengthened them, and the trust they had built would carry them forward. For the first time, Ethan felt that humans were not only survivors, they were worthy allies, capable of earning respect and admiration in a universe filled with wonders and challenges beyond imagining. The shuttle hummed softly as it prepared for departure from the moon. Ethan adjusted the controls, double-checking the systems to ensure a smooth launch. Lyra stood beside him, fully armored now, the plates gleaming under the soft lights. She moved with a fluid grace, her body and armor perfectly synchronized. The repairs had held, and she was ready to face whatever awaited her in the stars. "You're ready," Ethan said, his voice calm but filled with pride. "Everything seems stable, and the armor responds perfectly." Lyra turned to him, her violet eyes reflecting a mix of gratitude and admiration. "Human, careful, persistent," she said softly. "Able to restore what seemed lost, and to survive." Ethan smiled. "It wasn't easy, but we did it together. That's what counts." She nodded, studying him for a moment, then spoke again. Humans, stronger than I, imagined, not only survive, but understand and care." He felt warmth rise in his chest. Her words were recognition not of skill alone, but of something deeper, something uniquely human. Courage, empathy, and the ability to connect with others, even across species, had earned her trust. The shuttle's engines roared as they lifted off, kicking up dust and small rocks from the moon's surface. Ethan guided them carefully through the craters, keeping the shuttle steady until they reached open space. Outside the viewport, the vast expanse of stars stretched endlessly, and Ethan felt a sense of awe. Lyra had been a stranger, a warrior from a distant world. And yet now, she was an ally, a friend, someone who trusted humans in a way few others did. You, human. Remarkable, she murmured quietly, almost to herself. Able to repair and to connect across worlds. Ethan laughed softly. I didn't do it alone. You helped too. Without your knowledge and guidance, it would have been impossible. Lyra tilted her head, considering his words. Perhaps, but your heart and ingenuity made the difference. Humans, unique. They floated in silence for a while. The shuttle coasting through the starfield. Ethan studied her, noticing the faint pulse of energy from her armor, synchronized perfectly with her movements. He realized that this connection between human ingenuity and alien technology was something extraordinary. A bond that could shape events far beyond this moon. Suddenly, Lyra's communicator flickered to life, a holographic display showing her fleet approaching. She glanced at Ethan, her expression serious but calm. They come for me. Now, she said. Thanks, human, for your help. Ethan nodded. It was an honor. And I think you've earned something too. You've seen what humans can do: patience, creativity, courage. That counts for more than any weapon. Lyra's eyes softened. Yes, you, humans, different than most believe. Perhaps allies in future. They reached the coordinates where her fleet awaited. Ships of various shapes and sizes moved in formation, their designs alien yet majestic. Lyra maneuvered the shuttle closer, communicating with her comrades. Ethan watched quietly, understanding that this reunion was a recognition of her survival, her courage, and now, of the human who had helped her. One of her fleet commanders approached via hologram, studying Ethan carefully. This human? The commander asked. He repaired your armor? He kept you safe? Lyra's voice was firm. Yes, he, human, clever, patient, courageous. Without him, I would not have survived. He earned my trust. The commander's eyes widened slightly, and a subtle nod of respect followed. Impressive. Humans, underestimated, yet capable. Ethan felt a quiet pride. He had faced unknown technology, worked carefully, and built a bridge of trust with an alien warrior. And now, that effort was recognized not just by her, but by an entire fleet. Lyra turned to him, her expression unreadable at first. Then a faint smile appeared. Perhaps, one day, you visit my world. See how your skills and your heart can inspire others. I'd like that, Ethan said honestly. But for now, stay safe. You deserve it. She nodded, her armor glowing softly as she activated the shuttle's enhanced thrusters. And you, human, remember, courage, patience, understanding, can change worlds. Ethan watched as she launched toward her fleet, moving with precision and grace. The repaired armor held perfectly, responding to every movement, every pulse of energy. He realized then that the work he had done was not just technical, it was symbolic. Humans, often seen as fragile or limited, could rise to challenges that others deemed impossible. Their ingenuity, care, and determination allowed them to build trust, bridge worlds, and make a difference. As Lyra disappeared into the starfield, Ethan felt a sense of fulfillment. The moon, once silent and barren, now held the memory of a human and an alien warrior who had overcome fear, distance, and danger to create something extraordinary. It was proof that humans were more than survivors. They were capable of shaping the universe with intelligence, compassion, and courage. The shuttle coasted silently, and Ethan allowed himself a moment to reflect. He had learned about alien technology, about trust, and about the strength humans could show in the face of the unknown. Lyra's words echoed in his mind. Courage, patience, understanding. He smiled to himself, realizing that this adventure had changed him as well. Humans, he thought, had a way of rising above limits, of turning challenges into opportunities, and of earning respect through action and heart. And somewhere out there in the stars, Lyra would remember him not just as a human engineer, but as a partner, a friend, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve. The stars stretched endlessly around him, and Ethan felt a sense of peace. The universe was vast, full of unknowns, dangers, and wonders, but also full of possibilities. With careful hands, a patient mind, and a brave heart, humans could face anything, learn from anyone, and build connections that reached across galaxies. As he prepared the shuttle for its next course, Ethan whispered softly, "One day, we'll meet again, Lyra. And next time, we'll face whatever comes together." And somewhere in the distance, as Lyra's fleet glided through the stars, the bond they had formed remained a quiet testament to human ingenuity, patience, and the power of understanding. In a universe full of challenges and mysteries, humans had proven that their greatest strength lay not just in technology or force, but in their courage, empathy, and unyielding spirit. Ethan smiled, knowing that the story was far from over. The stars were calling, and humanity, as always, would answer with heart, with ingenuity, and with unwavering determination.